us. Come join us. Come on and join us on the front porch. Come join us on the front porch with Randy and friends.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Front Porch Chat with Randy and Friends. We're coming to you again today at Florella, but we're on the old front porch of Florella. We just happen to have some rain going on outside, so we decided we're going to bring the show inside today, Glenda.
Yeah, it's
inside.
boring.
Everybody,
it's
Glenda
boring.
Chauncey. Glenda, can you explain to everybody real quickly the hat and the sparkly shoes? Explain it to us, because I know everybody sees you doing it, but what is the real reason behind it?
Well, I don't think there's a real reason. I've always loved hats. Even when I was in high school, I was thinking about that today. I always wore hats. Now the sparkly part, I guess, because that's just part of who I am. Shoes, I don't know. I'm not like a real foo-foo girl with the jewelry and all of that. So maybe.
So you do it in the hat and the shoes.
Maybe the hat and the shoes. Yeah.
All right, well, as we do on every show, we're going to get right into answering some questions that you have sent to us. And Tara Yeager, Tara, can I have the questions, please? Are coming in.
Yeah.
What a postmaster she is, everybody.
Well, at least she didn't throw them at you.
Yeah, she could have. There's a lot of things she could have done.
Some people would have thrown them at you.
And of course, we're using Front Porch Chat with Randy wine labels as our question opportunity. All right, here we go. I took Betty to the doctor yesterday, 85 pounds. And when it was all said and done, her doctor finally prescribes her Marinol as an opportunity to increase her appetite, thereby hopefully increasing her weight. And it went back and forth with a lot of discussion about how do we get her to eat more and all these different things. Long story short is I take it to the pharmacy, find one that's willing to fill it, and I go to pick it up, $765 because Medicare decided they're not going to pay for it. What do you think about that, Glenda?
Here's what I think. You know, I love how people want to try to reform the people. Okay, I said this on social media. The bottom line is that who needs to be reformed are the super PACs. You know, if a company or a pharmaceutical company can say, I want $765 worth of pills, where does that come from?
That's 1 month's supply, folks. Two pills a day. And basically, from what I understand, it's a bit like a speed, and it actually increases your metabolism, but then you want to go to bed.
But the bottom line is, what justifies that price? I'm
crazy.
still trying to understand what is it, the cost to make it, the cost to package it, the cost to what? I mean,
the cost
what
to
is
keep marijuana illegal.
To keep it illegal. Well, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you're very fortunate, or Miss Betty's very fortunate to have you. Because who's out there, you always bring this up, who's out there that's a caretaker like you are, making sure that she's getting her appointments, her medicine, I mean, everything. I just can't imagine the families that don't have this.
You know what's so funny is I've probably got no less than 20 messages from people who, not that we would take advantage of this, but offering up help.
Really?
Help. And I'm
Speak
thinking
for
to myself,
yourself.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking to myself, you know, what does that really mean? Because what they're doing, what the federal government is doing is turning people into street corner drug dealers. When you cannot get something for someone like my mom who does not abuse her medications, and you cannot get something simple filled like that, there's a bigger problem.
Yeah,
than
there's
what
definitely, you know, in Bill Wolfisher, I mean, when we had our first interview with him, I mean, he made it very clear what's behind the scenes of what's going on. And
I see now why it didn't pass.
Well, of course.
All the money was coming from the pharmaceutical firms.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Question number 2. Let's see what this one is.
Oh, God.
I need my glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of an interesting, funny story.
Oh, boy.
All right. 2 people were arrested on a beach not long ago and now found convicted of having sex, and therefore they potentially face 15 years in jail, plus also being labeled as sex predators or child
offenders.
Sex offenders.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that one?
Well, let me just tell you for the record, I've had a lot of sex on the beach.
She's had a lot of, that's a drink, folks. Right there, that's a drink.
That is a definite, yeah.
By the way, in case you ever see us take a drink, make sure you grab your coffee, or in our case, a little glass of wine.
I mean, seriously,
absolutely.
I can sit here and tell you many times on a lifeguard stand. I mean,
what?
Absolutely. I mean, who doesn't
now,
have fun?
Listen, Glenda, that's
Puerto
just
Rico
a little
too.
too
I'm
much
just telling you, Puerto Rico
information.
too, on the beach.
I had sex once under a tree. Does that count?
No, it's talking about the beach. No, but I think
I think it's ridiculous. I think
it's
the idea
absolutely insane. You know, if people were offended by it, look, I'm not saying in the middle of the day, or when did it actually take place? Wasn't it later in the day?
Now she's saying she was dancing on top of him.
Well, hey, you could be.
Yeah, but because there was a child of 3 years old near them, that's why the sex predator charges
either
came
way, okay, let's say
They had a bad attorney. They had a really bad
either
attorney.
that,
That's what
or
I
let
would
me just say they're trying to be made an example of. Maybe
Yeah,
even
you
that.
think?
Well, listen, the bottom line is,
I want to know how many people out of 10 have had sex on the beach.
well, they name drinks after it, of course. I mean, many people have. Give me a break. I mean, come on. I mean, it's in my opinion, I think it was wrong. 15 years, up to 15 years,
Up
by
to
the way.
15 years, yeah. They haven't been
But the sex offender part bothers me the most.
Right.
Because she's 20 years old.
So I guess
the
my
rest
question
of
is,
her
are you
life.
going to suggest that every parental group that had two parents having sex in front of the 3-year-old child in their own bedroom, they're also sex offenders?
Well, hey, I
That's
mean,
what they're basically
that's what
saying.
they're saying in its own crazy way. But I'm not for it. I think it's wrong, and I hope they appeal it, and I hope these people can move on with their lives. I
On
really
Orange
do.
County Political Voice, this has been coming up a lot in the last few weeks, and it was also coming up this week. Democrats are doubling down on the push for a higher minimum wage. Fair to business? Fair to...
It's absolutely fair. I mean, come on. I'll tell you my own experience. Cost of living, it's very high to make, let's say, even $10 an hour. You know, I know you're going to sit here and say
I
for
don't
the
agree
business.
with you at all.
Well, I have to disagree with you because it has to go up with the cost of living. I mean, we talk about this all the time.
But Glenda, you're going to bring all the folks that are not in a financially good position to your side with your argument. The truth is an employer should not be forced to raise their rates.
Then there shouldn't be a rate then.
What's
I mean,
in your hand?
If
What is that in your hand?
something you gave
No,
me.
you gotta- if
I
you're gonna
need
work
it
the
for, I
fan,
need it for my
work the fan, work the fan. And what I'm saying is an employer should not be forced to raise the minimum
Then
wage.
get rid of it. Get rid of minimum wage then, if that's really what you're asking for. I
No,
mean,
I'm
it's
not
just
the
ridiculous.
one. It is not me that's asking for
Well,
it. People are looking to increase
How
the
is
living
minimum
wage.
wage calculated? Do you know? Do you even have the answer to that
Do you
question?
understand what a living wage is?
Well, of course.
That's where all of this is coming from. People are looking for what a living wage is, and some people are suggesting that's at least $15 an hour. Not every mom and pop small business can afford $15 an hour.
I'm not. Listen. All I'm saying is
It's a Disney mentality, universal mentality. They're going off of all these folks that are making all this money, and they're thinking those are the ones that can afford it, and therefore we should all be sharing
Well, they
in
just
it.
only penalize them then. Be done with it.
Okay, that right there is enough to go on. Okay, human trafficking. The Victim Service Center, and along with some other folks, have created a task force, and they're combining their efforts to go in on a $600,000 grant to assist in trying to narrow down or really draw some focus to the issue that we have human trafficking going on here in Orange County. And I know this is something important to you, so what's your thoughts about this?
You know, I met Jeff, that's very involved with this subject, and I actually sat with him for a good 3 hours. And I really didn't understand what this was about until I spoke with him. And really,
What is it about?
Well, what it's about, some kids leave their homes. They're unhappy with their homes. They end up on the street. They end up getting caught up into a life that, you know, because of their home life. And then now they get into this human trafficking where either they're forced into prostitution for people that have money, or they're actually taken out of this country. And that happens more than what we want to admit.
Yeah, I think
it's
that's
sad.
I'm on board with you on this one. I think that we, especially in Orlando, but I mean throughout every city in the country, this is a big deal.
It's a big
we
deal.
don't realize how many young people, especially women, but also men, or young men, are in that position. Well, they'll do whatever it takes to survive, not knowing what they're getting into.
Correct.
So I think this is a good thing for us.
I think it's a great thing.
Okay, last question before we go to break. Rick Singh is under fire for Rick Singh is our property appraiser for Orange County. Glenda thinks he walks on water. I'm a huge fan of his, but he is getting a lot of heat right now for logoing all of these Priuses, these vehicles, to travel around on behalf of the property appraiser. And throughout the country, we know that when someone gets elected to public office, whether it's for clerk of courts, tax collector, in this case, property appraiser, they brand a lot of what they put out there, whether it be envelopes, the website, buildings, in this case, cars, with their name as part of the brand. So my question to you is, what are your thoughts about this? We know that Rick Singh has saved this county a ton of money.
Millions.
Yet now he's doing this and he's being attacked. Political?
You know what? At the end of the day, I mean, everybody's looking for something to attack somebody. You know, what is it, 30 cars? I mean, today I was driving here and I saw Orange County city something. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Orange County
the city.
City
Yeah, that doesn't even go together.
That wouldn't even happen.
I know, but you
That
know,
would never
they
even
have,
happen.
but they have vehicles that have Orange County something on it. I just happened to see it today, and I'm thinking to myself, believe it or not, Rick Singh came to my mind, and I said, okay, so instead of it saying Orange County, it has his name on it. So what? What is the big deal?
You know, there is something to be said for that. I mean, I think that when they start putting their personal name on it, every time, for example, you write a check to Scott Randolph, Orange County tax collector,
Okay.
you're writing his name.
Yeah.
Okay. That is going to set with you, and when you go to re-elect, or you're, because you know, people, not everyone is like us. They're not really that
Tuned
interested
in,
in politics.
yeah.
You know, and so when they go to vote for someone, they're going to just vote for whoever comes off the. What do you think Earl K. Wood, who's God rest his soul, who's now dead? You know, the reality is, why do you think he was elected
Listen,
so many years?
if somebody's going to get upset about 30 cars having Rick Singh's name on it, after he saved the taxpayers millions and millions of dollars, what, in the first or 2 years?
Oh, I saw a Republican operative put out a statement. Go
Operative.
watch Channel 9.
Oh, yeah, that's a
This
great
story, and I thought, my gosh, he saved how much money for Orange County
Yeah.
taxpayers?
It's like you know, you
within
can't
a-
have your cake and eat it too.
You can't have both,
You know,
no way.
you just can't. So Rick Singh, run for mayor. I don't know which camera I'm supposed to look at, but
Just look at them all. Just go like this. Just scan them all.
run for mayor, please. I mean, he's an amazing guy.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to get into a little bit more of a personal discussion. It's been a very interesting last 6-7 months, and Glenda and I are going to go into some discussions about how the last few months have affected our own personal lives. And I know that we've actually shared some of that through social media, and now we're going to have that discussion here on the Front Porch. Front Porch with Randy and friends. We'll be back in just a second.
And friends.
Hello, everybody. This is Randy Ross with Front Porch Chat with Randy and Friends. I got a call into the production company, Titus Productions. We're actually getting ready to go meet them over in an area called Winter Park, which is not very far from downtown Orlando. We are taking a look at a 35-foot motorhome, y'all, something that we would brand on both sides. It may or may not be this one. We started the process of looking, but it's always been part of the business model to make sure that we have a way to travel around to front porches all over America. We are taking over Charles Carroll's position, folks. Anyway, Front Porch Chat with Randy and Friends, every Sunday at 11. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Front Porch Chat with Randy and Friends. And I'm here today with my good friend, Glenda Chauncey. Glenda, let's begin this segment with cheers, because
I'm
we
ready.
might need this, right?
Ooh, Lord.
You know, the last 6-7 months have been very interesting, where both of us have had to, in many ways, remain very quiet about a lot of issues that have been going on, mostly dealing with me, but also some that have been dealing with Glenda. And one of the things we wanted to do is take advantage of this opportunity to kind of clear the air and talk about the issues that, as we've now had an opportunity to digest them. And certainly we've watched a lot of people make a lot of gestures on our behalf, a lot of statements, cause a lot of problems.
That's a nice way of putting it.
And I want to kind of take people back to how you and I actually know each other.
Let's make a pact, though, before we start.
Oh, let's see.
Come
what
on,
that
let's
is.
make a
Oh,
pact.
Lord, everybody.
Once
Let's
we
make-
bring it out, let's be done with it.
Let's be done with it.
Let's
I
be
agree
done.
with you on
I
that
want to
one.
be done with it.
A lot of people don't realize that I met you originally back through a friend back in 2006. That was a time when the economy was tanking, and I was in this house, and I was potentially going to lose it. And long story short is you were helping people who were going through foreclosure crisis. And this is right before everything, you know, the banking industry, everybody else started experiencing it. And I had heard about you, and I met with you, and you actually helped me save my house. And I don't think a lot of people realize where our history started. But I wasn't one of the only people that you helped modify loans with and go through the whole process. And I know for a fact that you've taken a lot of flack, because at the time when you were helping with modifications, a lot of people were getting into it for all the wrong reasons. So Glenda, tell us a little bit about what happened to you in that particular time period. And outside of me, I know you helped a lot of people, but what happened to you? Because you went through some issues.
I went through a really bad divorce. Was married for 7 years to a gentleman that didn't want a divorce. So he made my life really living hell. And I speak for a lot of single women that have gone through this, or divorced women. I was very successful. I made a lot of money in the commercial real estate world. I was also in the timeshare world before that. Any sales I pretty much have been in, I've always been successful. Went through this divorce where all of a sudden I didn't have the legal side on my side. I actually had an ex-husband that was gaining on me. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, especially girls that have been through what I've been through. I got to a point where also the real estate market had tanked. So therefore, what I was making now went to zero. I mean, making a big income to zero.
I've been there, done that. I know.
So basically, I lived in Celebration. I bought my first home there. I had roller skated years ago, and they're saying one day I'd own a home there. How weird is that? And then I bought one. Had it for 2 or 3 years, and then decided I wanted a divorce. I just didn't want to be in my marriage anymore, and there's a lot of reasons. We won't go into that. But
not talking about divorce today, folks.
No, we're not talking about divorce today. But what happened was I unfortunately was caught up in a time when people were losing their homes, and really
2008 and 9.
Yeah, like in that area, and I really couldn't understand. I went through the modification process. I was giving all my, I mean, I'm a smart girl. I'm giving my documents, doing everything I'm supposed to do, and I'm even calling the law firm, which at the time was L. Stern's office, David J. L. Stern or something like that, and communicating with them and doing.
Assuming everything is okay.
Assuming everything's okay. One day, just in my life, I'm at home, and I get a knock from on my door from the sheriff's department. And they said, you have to move out. I'm like, what are you talking about? We have the right to remove you from this home. I had 4 hours to move my items. The hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
How long had you been in that house?
I'd been in that home almost 3 years.
3 years.
But my whole life was there. Everything I ever put in that house was there. So you start going, oh my God, what do you choose? What do you do? I mean,
What did you do? Did you call a mover? I mean, how did you handle getting
actually
out of the house?
a very good friend of mine at the time, I still call him a friend, said, Glenda, I'm going to help you. And he called people. And those people were there within seconds because he knew this was going to be a breaking point for me.
Right.
And, you know, here I did everything they asked me to do. You know, provided documents. We're not going to foreclose. We're going to make sure that we get you modified. We're going to approve you. I mean, I heard this over and over and over
again. And a lot of homeowners hear the same message.
I mean, absolutely. So long story short, I had to move out within 4 hours. And that was an 1,800 square foot home upstairs and downstairs. So literally imagine going into your life and saying, I want this, 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 this. And
Did
the rest
you leave
of it,
things behind?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I had to. I mean, there's only so much you can do in 4 hours when the sheriff is there with guns, practically, saying, you got to move. And I'm on the phone with the attorney. The attorney's like acting like we never had conversations. It was really an eye-opener for me. And sorry. Yeah, see? I told you. I remember the day, that day when I said, if God could just get me through this. Sorry. I said I would never let another family be thrown out on the street like a dog, because that's what I felt like at the time. So I stayed in a hotel of a friend of mine, Indian guy, Mr. Patel. Gotta love the Patels, because you call them and you go, I need you. And they let me stay there for a couple of weeks. And of course I let my son go with his dad because I didn't want my son to see any of this, you know. And I was so frustrated and so angry. I was so angry that I said, how can I fix this? Because I'm like one of these fixers. Like
right.
I can't stand it when people are wronged and you can't fix it because
right.
they either don't have the strength to do it or they don't have the voice to do it.
And
so,
they don't know how.
Oh, they don't know how. So I took my experience and I said, I'm going to help people, you know? And I did. I opened up an office. I modified over 300 families. I saved 300 families. Now, did I save everybody? No, because the banks set it up for you to fail.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Because they want the house back.
They
and
want
the
the
money
house.
And all of
I mean,
it,
there's
yeah.
so many stories behind that. But at the end of the day, I did lose my license because that was one of the haters, you know,
right.
bringing up about my license. I lost it because I lost faith in having my real estate license. I didn't believe in the system anymore. So I didn't do the right thing by contacting them and saying, I am not going to renew my license. I just let it go. So therefore, it's called revoking a license. Yes, I did have the state come in to interview me and investigate me. Yes, that's true. However, it was about a girl that was in my office who was out of state doing modifications that I didn't know about.
Right.
So...
And you weren't the only one. There were many people out there involved in this business of modifying loans. What I'm suggesting to you is I'm one of the people that you actually helped.
Yeah.
So I know that it was genuine.
It was, I mean, everything that I did came from my heart. And it was because I made that promise to God. If he just got me through that time, that I would not make the mistakes that I made.
Right.
Basically, because I had made a lot of them, obviously, or the sheriff wouldn't have showed up at my door
Right.
and said, "You have 4 hours to get out."
Why don't we take a quick break?
Yeah.
We'll come back. Glenda sits on the board, one of the sole folks still on the board of an organization that I've been greatly involved with, and I want to talk a little bit about girls standing together, and then I also have my own story to tell. So we'll be back in just a second on the front porch.
Randy and Friends.
Hello everyone, I'm Randy Ross and welcome to Front Porch Chat with Friends every Sunday at 11. Cocktails, conversation, politics, and don't forget to grab your favorite lounge chair.
Randy and Friends.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Front Porch Chat with Randy and Friends. I'm here with Glenda on the front porch of Florella, which is actually, this is the old front porch. We actually closed this in when I bought this house, but the reality is we're having a conversation, a personal conversation today, and I kind of shared, or actually asked you some questions
Very
about
personal.
some things that have happened. Look at you with your glowing lipstick, girl. But now we're going to let the tables turn just a little bit, and we're going to have that same conversation, because what we're trying to do today is clear the air. Because once we have this conversation today, they can keep talking about it, and they are the haters, but as far as you and I are concerned, we're putting this to rest.
And actually, that is such a good relief. I just got to tell you, because you watch these things that are being said about you, and you want to respond. You
Sure.
really want to respond, but you just kind of go, you know what?
Because sometimes the best response is
no response. I've learned that.
Yeah, a good friend of mine said that.
But something started that put you in a legal system
Yeah.
way back when. So maybe if you'll share that with me.
Sure. It's not, first of all, it wasn't College Park.
Thornton Park, one of those parks.
When I left Orlando originally in 1992, before I actually moved my mom here in 1994, I had written a check to Sears for my credit card payment. That check did not clear. So it's no secret that I have a charge that I clarified regarding a check that did not clear.
So that was the first.
That was the first situation. At a time, the state attorney at the time was it was a big deal. If you, I'm not saying that $36 check did not matter. What I'm saying, I didn't even know it existed until I arrived back in Orlando in the 90s, late 90s. And so, as a long story short, it was something that was resolved and taken care of. It didn't mean that I wanted to squash it. It meant that even when I ran for office in 2012, it came out.
Yeah.
You know, a worthless check is a worthless check. If it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. But the truth of the matter was that I accepted the responsibility for that situation, and I handled it.
Okay, so when you ran for office, just like everybody, they love to go into the skeletons. They love to find out in your closet. That's why I say I can never run, because God knows.
Sure you can.
No,
I
all
say
the
if I
bones
ever
will come.
run again, I'm going to tell you all the skeletons I have.
You might as well. I mean, because what they're
Absolutely.
going to do is they're going to dig and dig and dig and dig until they find it.
Absolutely.
But I mean,
I think one of the things I want to address is I want to go back a little bit further, maybe 6 or 7 months ago. You know, it's no secret that I was working with the museum.
Right.
I was the director of marketing and public relations, and I take a great amount of pride in saying that I know I raised that mausoleum out of the ground during the time that I
I'm
was
going to
there.
say I got to give you kudos for that, because I've never walked in there before in my life.
And I don't want to say it in a mean way, or arrogant way.
Yeah.
What I say was I brought some energy to the that process that had not been there for many, many years. It was extremely homophobic. It's no secret that I'm openly gay. I mean, you did not see gay people working at the museum or engaging in the museum, for that matter.
Wow.
And so when I got the opportunity to start working with the museum, part of what I wanted to do was include the LGBT community in that, and I successfully accomplished that.
absolutely
In August
did.
of last year, we did the Art and Equality event at the museum. Probably one of the best First Thursdays they've had in years. Highly successful. I will not sit here and solely take credit for it, but I will suggest to you it helped introduce the LGBT community back into the museum. It wouldn't be long after that, on my birthday, actually, on October 4th, I would be on a radio show. One I'd been on many times before.
And can I just say for the record, I never liked that show. I listen to the content. I never liked that show.
It wouldn't be long that I would be on a radio show on my birthday. There would be elected officials inside while I stepped outside to take the call to be on the show. And during the conversation, I made a statement regarding the former commissioner, now our clerk of courts, that I regret. and I apologize for, regarding her being a woman that spent a lot of time out of office on maternity leave versus working in the office. What would happen from that is a lot of heat.
Yeah.
You know, the local publications took it as an opportunity. The local Democratic Party, and we'll talk about some of the things that I've made a decision on politically here a little bit later, but they literally latched into me. And let me tell you why. I had been a person who had decided that you decide who you want to vote for, not based on party affiliation. And that was not popular. And so by the time that night or that next few days ended, I took a few days off of work. And when I came back, I was told, you need to resign. And so I made a decision to resign from the museum. I wanted that to be cleared. I was not terminated. I was not fired. I was told, for lack of a better phrase, it's too hot in here. And, you know, and it was hard. That was one of the hardest days that I've had.
Yeah. Yep. You're not allowed to cry.
Because I knew my work wasn't done.
Yeah.
Right?
And how sad, because honestly, I heard that people were emailing the board members
On a regular basis.
On a regular basis. And, you know, I try to understand people's positions. You know, if you're out there sincerely trying to help the community, I don't care what level it is, like even Girls Standing Together, how can you go out as a human being and really bash people? I mean,
when you
what
don't
is it?
have a life, when you don't have your own goals, desires, dreams, whatever they are, and you see somebody doing, because I do everything I say I'm going to do, Glenda, I do it.
Absolutely.
And that intimidates people.
Absolutely.
Especially when you do it successfully. And I think in that particular case, I really was in a very vulnerable, I had created a vulnerable position. You know, I took on that job as an interim marketing manager, not even someone that was supposed to be there that long. And I turned it into a director position and totally brought that place out of the ground. So by the time I had gotten positioned into a corner where it was going to be me or the highway, I had no choice. I really had no choice. And that's when the darkness began.
Yeah, you're right.
Because that's when I had to, you know, we sit here in this house and, you know, I would pull the blinds down every day. I mean, I had already been thinking about this show. I knew that it, and the director knew. I had planned to leave right after the first of the year. Right. That was not a secret,
Yeah, they would love to make it a big deal.
Because the reality is working for a 501c3 is not easy.
Not easy.
Right? And I already knew that I was turning 33. But no, I was turning an age this year where I wanted to make sure that I had decided that the destiny that I put forth is the one I decide, one that I control. And so I got into a position where I decided to create Front Porch Chat. Yeah. And that had already been in my psyche. It had already been in part of my process. It would take me longer to get there.
It's really, again, it's really sad. I mean, you went on a radio talk show and something came out. Okay.
First, it was a blog radio spot.
Well, and it was blog. Well, it goes to show you how popular you are. But I mean, really, I've seen so many things in the political world that is so much worse than that. And like when that happened, and people said, "Why would you associate?"
You know what bothered me most about it, Glenda, was when the Democrats took advantage of my misstep. You know, they didn't listen to the fact that. Even my apologies were not warranted.
Yeah. It wouldn't have mattered.
When the local DEC chair came out and said, you know, how dare he, this is horrible, et cetera, et cetera. They forgot all the work I've done in this community since I arrived back in 1987. Yeah. And they chose to capsulize it and turn it into Randy is a monster, he's a sexist, he doesn't believe in women working, all these things. That was not the case. It was a interesting process. You know, there's only so much I can talk about in this whole thing. The reality of the situation was I made a bad choice. I'd love to tell you that I'm perfect. What I will tell you is I never got any money. I'm the one that canceled the process. And by the time all this happened in January of this year, I honestly was blindsided by it. I really, because I was the one that initiated the closure, I would never have thought it was going to move forward. What I do know is on a Friday when I was on a commercial shoot for a local hospital out in your neck of woods,
I remember this day.
I learned that this was happening. And, you know, I would go through that evening, and then 4 days later, my partner of 5.5 years would tell me he's leaving.
Yeah.
And so
I give you a lot of credit, Randy. I really, really do. I'm just trying to help you here because I know that's not easy to bring up. But, you know, I was very angry about that. I think I was probably more angry than you were because I'm all about loyalty. In any relationship that you're in, no matter what. I mean, you could have been out there and got busted for something else, or, you know, the bottom line is you support that person that you love. And for me, it was like, what?
I think what bothered me about it is that, you know, early in our relationship, I supported him through the lives of where he went to school, learning that from his ex-wife. I supported him after he was fired for sexual misconduct at work. I supported him when he was fired from 3 other jobs, and I never once wavered on whether I loved him or not. Yeah. And, you know, his family didn't know that. His family didn't know any of it. Yeah. And I allowed that into my life. You know, this is a person that allowed his mother to live not homeless, as we talk about Mother's Day this week. And I say this with a heavy heart. His mom didn't live homeless for 2 days because he put her out of his house. She didn't live 2 weeks. She didn't live 2 months. She lived 2 years at the Coalition for the Homeless because he kicked her out. And how dare she go on social media after this all played out and turn me into a monster. Wow. Listen, I'm very much still in love with my ex-partner. I am so sad.
Yeah, but it's the reality, Randy. The reality is...
Because my family went away.
Yeah. And look, I can't sit here and be in your shoes, and I'm not going to profess to be. But at the end of the day, this person decided very early on that he was going to do something that you didn't even know was happening.
You know, I know you hate to hear this, but I've defended him in this because if I were in the same position, if someone came to me and they said, is this your son? Is this your partner? If you don't do what we're asking you to do, you realize the consequences of that. Knowing how hard I know he worked to be a good dad and to be a good father and to have a child to begin with, I can't hold that against him.
You have a lot more than I have because I totally disagree with you. I think the truth would have come out. I think the truth would have stayed.
Well, there were options, Glenda. The options were the state would drop the case, and I was way too high profile. I could put a picture up today that I'm at the supervisor of elections.
Please, yes, and now you're running for governor.
I'm running for governor
come on.
Or whatever.
Yeah. You stirred that all up again today.
All you do is put up a picture.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But the reality is, I was too high profile for them to drop the charges. Number 2 was that the charges were there and I would plead to something. Number 3, and I talked with my attorney, Roger Scott, who's been amazing, and I want to make sure Roger gets credit for all that what he did for me. Number 3 was, Randy, if we go to court, we will take his credibility and we will destroy it. And when you lie about where you go to school, when you run around with a vanity plate on your car that says you went to a school that you didn't go to, when you have a credit card in there, when you've lied to your ex-wife, your family, and everybody about, I had the justification to do so. Yeah. But you know what? Guess who I would have hurt?
Yep, the child.
His son.
That's right.
And I was not prepared for that. Yeah. as a result, I pled to something far less, and I paid the price. I'm still, the sad part is that a lot of people don't realize, and I'm not going to get into the details of my deal with the state, but the reality is this will be over very soon. And I still go back to the Friday night that I came home after it was all said and done, and on a Tuesday, I had been texting my partner about what I was making for dinner, and around 8 o'clock he showed up to let me know the next day he was moving. It was the second time in our relationship in this house that he had, one week had his son here, and the following week his son went someplace else. So I didn't do that. I would have, if the shoe was on the other foot, I would have been through with him through the process. I had already been with him through a lot of different processes. So it's hard. It's hard because I've watched the social media exchange. Everybody just enjoys sending me the screenshots of the challenges and things like that. But that's why, literally at the time we launched this show, it was all happening. And it was like, do we stop doing what we're doing? Do we stop the show? Do we stop what the goal was, what the mission was, so we can deal with all these haters? And, he had the opportunity, and why I'm enjoying our discussion today is because we didn't get this.
No.
I made sure that Roger Scott did all of my answering for them. I was not prepared because they would not have liked what I had to say. And it would have been appropriate for me to say it. It was very appropriate for my attorney to say it.
I think, though, at this point where we need to be, we're moving forward because it's been done. There's not a whole lot we can change anymore. All we can do is move forward and look at ourselves and know this is who we are. Right? Because at the end of the day, who do you answer to? Yourself. And that's been a big lesson for me because I've always put people in front of me, and I'm not doing it anymore.
What was hard for me was watching how beat up you got.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the problems that happened with Girls Standing Together came because you supported me.
You and some other members supported you, and we got beat up.
Yeah, and I think that I watched that because I was numb to the whole process at the time. And, it's so interesting because I've been so politically engaged and so active in the community and all the different things I was doing. And, when you're being celebrated, people just love putting you up there. Hey, how you doing? I want to go to the party with you.
But the minute you fall.
But when you fall, what's so funny about the whole thing is it's no longer for me because I've risen out of the mistake. And that bothers people.
Yeah.
They would have preferred a public lynching.
Oh, they'd rather you be like dead on the ground somewhere,
it's like
one of those animals you see on the side of the street.
Well,
it's
really.
The
truth, though.
It is true.
It is true.
People thrive on that. They love for you to fail. And you know what? One thing I'm going to say, and it'll probably bring tears to me as well. I respect the fact that you were able to get through this. I don't know too many people losing a partner, losing a son, losing almost everything you have, and you said, you know what, I'm going to move forward. To me, people should take that as a positive. If you can rise above this, anybody can rise above anything. And that's what's important.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll be back in just a second.
Randy and Friends.
We hope that you'll join us every week so we can talk about politics, a little bit of pop culture, and whatever's happening in our community that's going to change and help us all make us a better place to live, work, and play. So tune in to Front Porch Chat with Randy every Sunday at 11. Welcome back to Front Porch Chat with Randy and Friends. Well, thank you, Glenda, for making me cry. What was that all about?
I think my eyelashes are coming off now.
Oh,
no,
those are fake?
They are fake.
I would never have known. Never have known.
Whatever.
One of the things I want to be able to do is draw some conclusions from our conversation. You and I have obviously been through a lot, in the last, not just the last few months,
yeah,
in the
my
last
life,
number of years.
my lifetime.
What's so funny is that I met you at a time where you were going through a struggle and I would never have known it. Yeah. And you knew I was going through a struggle, and I want to talk to you about what are the messages that we take out of this? How do we change other people's lives and hope to give them some faith and some understanding that no matter how dark the day is, they can get through it. In our own circles, we see people going through struggles.
Yeah.
And I watch them every day, and I'm the one that says, don't play that on Facebook. You know, don't do that. You know, the truth of the matter is, we are today being very honest about what we have experienced, and it doesn't mean that I don't miss my life. I miss it terribly. I mean, I look back. This was only 4 months ago.
Yeah.
My life was very different than it is today. But in some ways, I know that because I went through that struggle, it's why I am here doing this today.
It's kind of a weird thing, isn't it?
Well, you know, I think it's important. I know you won't understand this, but
I love how he sets that up.
while I don't necessarily understand or agree with how my ex handled things, he's owed an apology from me for ever getting to a place where he had to deal with that. You know, did he play it out the way I would have? No. But for me, and what I realize I lost in the end, you know, things happened in that case for a reason. You know, it wasn't just long ago he was FaceTiming me, and not necessarily as appropriate as it probably should be, and a lot of people probably don't realize that. He was talking and communicating, and
yeah, but in the meantime, he's out there on social media saying what a horrible person you are.
I know. And
see, that's what I don't like. I'm going to tell you.
Well,
that's what I don't like.
Let me tell you that when someone lies, and they can say what they want about me, but when someone has inherently lied their entire life.
Well, that's their life.
Okay?
That's their existence.
His mom going out on social media, if my mom ever did what his mom did on social media, I would figure out a way to shut that down, because my mom would never do that. Yeah. And I think what bothers me when I think about the most is, what does his son think about the fact that he never got to see the dogs again?
Well, that's not for you though, Randy.
I know, but I know that he has to do the explaining. But the reality is, an 8-year-old kid, 7-year-old kid, whatever, he doesn't understand why he doesn't show up at the house the next week.
But they don't.
He doesn't understand why Harpo and Celie and Chaco are no longer.
Do you know
in the
how
picture.
many kids go through this every day? Divorces. They're put in the middle of crap all the time. It's not about dogs. It's not about this. When you go through a nasty breakup, kids are always in the middle.
But it wasn't nasty.
No.
I just ended up one day and I realized he was moving
it doesn't matter, but what I'm saying to you, this child is going to adapt with whatever is going to be with him for the rest of his life. You don't know. You could have very well impacted him in ways that you don't even know right now. You just think, because he's not seeing dogs and seeing you, that it's all over with. You have no idea how you impacted this child. You have no idea. So don't assume the worst. Assume the best. Because you were there for him. I know, because you're on the phone with me 24/7. I'm up picking up, I'm up doing this, I'm up doing that. I heard it. That child is going to remember you being there. That's more than dogs and the emotions, the relationship. That's all that matters. You know what I mean?
Right.
And even if people try to say differently to him, it isn't going to matter. He's going to remember what he was raised with in the last 5 years in your relationship. So don't ever carry that the way you're carrying it right now.
Right.
It's not fair to you.
Right.
It isn't.
Okay, so what are we...
Yeah, and that's psychology 101 from Glenda.
Well, we've talked about a lot of things. Some people will be uncomfortable with our conversation.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people are going to be uncomfortable. Luckily, I didn't name names.
Well, you didn't. You're pretty good about that.
I was pretty good about that. I was pretty good.
A few people will be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that when it's all said and done, one of the things I wanted to accomplish with this show was be able to have a discussion that's open, honest, tell our side of the story, albeit as much as we possibly can talk about, and be able to then move forward, Glenda, because I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I don't either.
I'm not.
But I
that
do know.
interested.
I know one thing I do want to talk about.
What are you going to talk about?
I want to know what that picture was about today.
First of all, let me tell you that up until 2002, I was a registered Republican.
Oh, God. Let me choke on that one for a moment.
I know it's shocking.
Look, I've only been a voter for
really
less than a year. Okay,
and part of that was my family was registered that way. I thought that was the right thing to do. What I realized is that in 2002, when I came out, the Republican Party was not necessarily representative of who I was. A man who had lived 36 years of his life dating. Actually, I dated women, but I also dated men in between all that.
Okay, Bruce
shocker.
Jenner. Okay, Bruce Jenner.
No, it's not Bruce Jenner. That's called transgender. Totally different show.
I'm just kidding.
You know, and so I kind of went through that process of everybody kind of guilted me that I needed to be part of the Democratic Party. And the reality was the Democratic Party was doing a better job representing the issues that were important to me. Being open, being gay. I am supportive of, why are you laughing?
Just go.
I am
I'm waiting
supportive
for
of a
this.
woman's right to choose. I am supportive of a lot of issues that the Democratic Party embraces. In this last election cycle, what I found is that I started siding more with Republicans. I found people like Commissioner Scott Boyd, Commissioner Pete Clark, our mayor, Mayor Teresa Jacobs, and a lot of people that I was surprised really had hearts and were very sincere about their desire to let people know that the fringe issues, and I think fringe issues are things like whether I should or should not be able to be married to a man. I think fringe issues are a woman's right to choose, even though it's powerful. I'm saying that the things that I want from our government at a federal as well as local level are making sure that fiscal responsibility.
Why do I feel this whole thing that you have crossed over to the Republicans? You are back? Are you back? Oh, God.
Wait.
Oh,
So, as you know, during the last election cycle, I met with most all the judges that were running for judge.
Well, that doesn't count.
Okay, I'm not done.
That doesn't count.
And they cannot necessarily talk about political platforms. What they talk about is, their various feelings on certain issues, but they can't get involved in that. That's not what they do. And as I did that, a lot of them I learned were Republicans. Okay? As I talked with people running for public office, I realized that a lot of the people that I found I identified with were Republicans.
I'm so stunned right now. I don't even know what to say.
And what I learned is that I am a man that happens to be gay that today decided he's going to be a Republican. Wow. And what I do with that information, and it's not to grandstand, it is to be able to suggest to other people in the LGBT community and other people in general that you don't have to define yourself with what you think a party's.
So then why don't you just be an independent or a non-partisan? Why not?
You and I on the way to running over to do this today,
my
we talked
goodness.
about this. I feel the Republican Party has found a new direction, and I want to be part of the change. It doesn't mean I'll ever be an elected official.
Oh, so that means you're not running for mayor?
Even though today I picked up the information that would explain to you
You're
how to
getting
run,
an RV to travel around the world. Stop it. You're not going to be
to
here.
run for mayor or city council.
Oh, Jesus.
And just so you know, if you ever want to run for Orlando City Mayor, it's going to cost you $5,200. If you want to run for city council, it's going to cost you $1,600 because there's nobody going to have time to actually get enough petitions for that. The reality is, I made a decision today to become part of the Republican Party.
Well, congratulations. let me just say, congrats on
And
that.
while not all of them, I mean, we already saw some of them. I took a picture. Let me tell you, folks. I took a picture today, and I think they're going to flash it on the screen in just a second. I took a picture at the Supervisors of Elections office when I became a Republican, and nobody even knew what it was. There are people that were hating all over the place. People are like, "Oh, we don't want him. Oh, we don't need him. Oh, well, we love him. Whatever. Go do
Yeah,
anything."
they're gonna deny you.
They're going to deny me. The reality is, Randy Ross is now a registered Republican.
God, this is going to be an incredible year.
It is going to be a very interesting year. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, yes, did we make sure I talked about
Not
all
yet. Yeah.
No, okay. When we come back, we're going to have Betty on the porch. And as Betty always does, she wraps up every one of our shows. So we'll be back on the front porch in just a second, everyone.
Randy and Friends.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Front Porch Chat with Randy and Friends on the old front porch of Florilla. Isn't that ironic? Betty, we've got Betty with us now, and Betty's going to share with us her feedback to the show. Just so we're clear, I did not declare I'm running for office, right? I just I clarified.
You alluded to it.
that
I'm
I
just
went to
telling
the
you. Well,
city clerk today. I got the
no, you were at the
paperwork.
probation office. You
No,
were. You
I
were.
was not. I declared that I looked at the mayor's race and I looked at the city council race. That's what I declared. Are we clear?
Okay. So why would you go that extra step?
Because I want to make sure we're clear.
Okay.
Because I want people out there putting all this.
Yeah, but they're going to do it anyway. So enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment.
All right. So Betty, we've talked about a lot today. We talked about. Let's talk first. One of the very first questions that we had on the show was discussing our visit with your doctor yesterday regarding Marinol. So how do you feel about the fact that we didn't get it?
We didn't get it. We didn't get it. It cost too damn much.
Yeah, but even the reality was, Mom, Medicare didn't want to pay for it. So
No, that's right.
let me just ask you this. I'm just going to ask it because it's, it's a show. Are you okay with us getting it on the street corner versus doing it that way? If it's going to help you?
I gotta go to it through my doctor.
Through your doctor.
But it's just like I said to the doctor yesterday, it's more important to me to have something for the pain. Because sometimes it gets so bad. Not all the time.
Is that partially why you don't eat is because of the pain, you think?
Part of it, yes.
I do want to know that. Is it really because of the pain that you've lost so much
Sometimes,
weight?
yes. Well, in the last year I've had a lot of problems with my teeth.
Which is
They're
painful.
suddenly going bad for whatever.
Okay, well, probably because we're getting older. I mean, okay, that can happen.
And I think that's more part of it.
Right.
So the reality is we failed at that. So I think, and this is what I suggested to Glenda, is that we get to a place where we're almost resorting to being street corner.
Right.
I mean, look, if you want to save someone, I mean, you just said to me, it shocked me. I'm already angry enough. You already know this,
Because
right?
I'm a Republican.
No, well, we'll talk about that later. Here's my biggest concern now, because you shared something that I did not know until I walked in this house, that if you hit 79 pounds, what happens?
She could be put in the hospital.
See, I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to go into the hospital. You have enough people here that love you, that we need to fatten you up. Somehow, look, if I could transfer this over to you, I would.
She's got great cholesterol. She has a great cardiovascular system. Her respiratory system is fine.
So it's just the arthritis.
It's just the arthritis, and it causes her to lose the weight. So the reality is, though, she's at 85 pounds.
But didn't they compare this, though, to like cancer patients? Did I hear you talk about this?
If she had been dying of cancer, they would have paid for this. But because she's not dying, they don't feel, apparently her life is worthy.
See, I cannot grasp that at all. At all.
We talked about some other issues. You heard what Glenda went through. What did you think about what Glenda went through?
Well, I think it's sad. Very sad. Unfortunate. I think people are too fast to judge without knowing the full story of any situation.
Right.
You know that as well as I do.
Yeah.
And I also know that you're a strong person. I know that God never puts more on us than what we can bear. I was always told that. I believe it very firmly. You just have to hang in there, and you have. And good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you.
You know I love your mom. Like everybody else out there in the world.
Wow, why you make me cry again?
Oh my God.
Oh my God, the tears. Betty, what did you think about what I said about what I went through and what I'm doing? What do you have your 2 cents about that?
I thought it was a piss-ass mistake in a lot of ways. Not that I think you're perfect, because you're not. Just like I'm not perfect, Glenda's not perfect. The people out there doing all this shit. It is a good thing that I am not on social media, because I would be all over their asses. And I wouldn't hesitate to do it because of the fact that they did not know the facts of what happened.
Yeah.
You know? And every mother, when someone, I mean most mothers, I assume, they think as I do, when someone is talking about your child, you might as well try to put me in handcuffs. I'm not fighting.
I agree.
Because it's just that way when you have children. But even I had to get the facts too. And I had the police come to talk to me. And I think sometimes police even make mistakes. And in my situation, I felt that that's exactly what happened in a lot of ways. As far as your partner was concerned, he didn't stand by you. I know you stood by him in many ways. That he should have been there for you. It shouldn't just been your friends. And you do have some. You have a lot of haters.
No,
that-
Betty.
Well, people that want to jump on that bandwagon, be out there saying all this stuff that they don't really know. They don't even really know you. They don't care about that. They want
Yeah,
to
I think
do
that
for
I think the one
good.
learning from what I discussed today with Glenda was, you know what? I have found an amazing friend in Glenda. She is loyal, number one, probably the most loyal friend I can remember having in my entire life.
Right.
She's not going to waver, and she's been given plenty of opportunities to. You know, so as we look around and we talk about everything that the show has been about today, it's been about our truths. You know, I finally divulged that I know how I know you from the beginning, which was a big. I've
Big
not
step.
always been
No.
comfortable telling people that I almost lost my house, and that's how I met you originally. And then we've done some amazing things together. We've raised a lot of money for a lot of nonprofits. We've raised a lot of awareness. We
And
have,
didn't get the credit you should have gotten.
oh, thank you, Betty. But what we've done is we've done it in a way that, as we look back on it, I don't feel sadness. I feel great pride. And I think that as we look out to people, no matter what your party affiliation is, no matter whether you run or never run for office, or who gives a crap?
Right.
Well, depends, right? What matters is the difference you make in the lives of the people in your community and your family and everything
And within
else.
yourself.
And with that said, I want to say, you know, Mom, happy Mother's Day.
No.
Yeah.
She's been a good mama. Yeah.
Yes, I love you.
Oh.
It's okay, Randy.
Aw.
It's all right.
She's an amazing
No, I
mom.
do.
And
I've got a
there are
good
so
son,
many
and I've got a
amazing-
great daughter and family. So,
there are so many amazing moms out there, but you have been.
Miss Betty is all of mamas. She is such a good mama to everybody. She really is.
we'll all make it.
They like her
Wait,
better than us.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But she's been an amazing mom, and she's been my biggest cheerleader
Yep.
throughout all the struggles, throughout the triumphs and everything else. And so what I hope for people as they are celebrating Mother's Day is when this show will air, is that they get the wonderful fortune of having someone in their life like my mom.
She's awesome.
And with that said, folks, gosh, I need to cut. Let us please
I want to
put
know how
some
many people
makeup
cry on social media. That's all I want to know. How many people did we make cry today?
With that said, folks, this has been an amazing show. You probably won't hear a show like this again. This might be the one I ever do in my entire career, where it was time to finally share our truth. Glenda, thank you for being such an amazing friend. Next week, totally different topic, and you won't hear us talking about the past anymore.
No more.
So everybody, thank you for joining us on the front porch, and we'll see you again soon.
Hurry up.